Hey, what's happening, CS Tiers? Hope everybody had a great weekend. Welcome to the big show here this Monday evening. I'm Nick Strubley, pleased to be with you. Lots to discuss, FCC fans. A couple of losses last week for the Orange and Blue. We've got Hell is Real coming up again this week. The hits just keep on coming here for FC Cincinnati. Glad you're with us again. If you want to get in touch with us, if you're watching us live on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, we thank you so much for tuning in. You can always email us at feedback@cincinnatissoccertalk.com. And you can also hit us up on Twitter as well at Cincy Soccer Talk. A lot of discussion right now about the on-field success or lack thereof of the Orange and Blue. So I figured we'd take it a different direction this week. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Mark Heinlein and Chris Larbes from the Motz Group to talk about FC Cincinnati's new grass surface at the West End Stadium, which if you've been watching the construction cameras like I have been every day, you'll know that is just around the corner for that beautiful grass pitch to be laid down there at the West End Stadium. So it'll be really fun to catch up with those guys to see what this project is going to be like, what their involvement is, what the timeline is, and whatnot. That's coming up a little bit later on in the show. Let's welcome in my cast of characters for this week. I will start with the professor, the one and only Jeff Warner. Jeff, how was your weekend, buddy?
Good, Subs. It's always good to be back here. It's always good to talk about the beautiful game and our local club, good, bad, or indifferent. Looking forward to talking about the West End Stadium today. I think it's important for everyone to look ahead to that, look ahead toward next season and at least have something to get excited about, right? So it should be a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you back on the show. You were there last night at Nippert Stadium, so I'm sure you have a lot to say about what went down there late in that match. So looking forward to getting your take on that. We also welcome back. It's been a while since this man has been on the show. He's our stats guru, our roster man. He knows it all when it comes to the Orange and Blue from the stats standpoint. We call him Ken Hetker. Ken, how you been, man? It's been a while.
I've been pretty good. I wouldn't say I know it all because obviously I know nothing with this team because we can't figure anything out right now. So, but it's good to be back. Long time. It feels like 2020 has just been a hell of a year for everybody all the way around, including FCC, and I'm sure we'll get into that. So, but yes, nice to be back and glad to be talking to everybody again.
Welcome back to Ken Hetker. It's been so long that Ken has been on the show that I wasn't even prepared to have his graphic ready. So, Ken, I apologize. I will do better next time for you, buddy.
I prefer being unknown.
Okay. And last but not least, we welcome back into the show. We're going to call him Mr. Big Time because he is everywhere these days, not just with us, but he's on Extra Time Radio. He's broadcasting soccer games for the Longhorn Network. He's just doing it all. Michael Lahoud, how's it going, buddy?
It's good to be back as always. Look, doing lots of other things, but I love coming back on the show. It's like one of those, what was it, where a kid can be a kid. I just feel like it always can be myself here on this show. So lots of crazy stuff's going to come out of my mouth tonight as always, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, good. We're glad to have you back on the show, Michael, to get your thoughts on what went down over the weekend, not just against Toronto FC, but last week against the Philadelphia Union as well. As always, we start off our show with our best and our worst. So, Michael, I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to throw it to you first because usually I let you go last, but I'm going to let you go first this time. Give me your best and worst from last week.
I had to shorten my notes for this one, but I will do reverse. I will go worst. Worst was defensive transition. I think we've talked a lot about in previous shows about mobility in the midfield or lack thereof. And in the last two games, I think the team was exposed in that midfield defensive transition. You saw that against Philadelphia. You saw that against Toronto. And that is something that needs to be addressed going into the game against Columbus, because that's going to be how they expose the team. Best. Oof.
Right.
Well, come back to me on that one.
All right. We'll definitely come back to you. Ken, how about you? Your best and worst.
I'm actually going to do the same thing as Michael first, but I'm going to go with my worst, and I'm actually going to tack on to what Michael said, which from transition, I'm going to give our worst to being our final third product. We have got to be in the bottom 3 of the league of just completion of passes in the final third, hell, passes in the final third. We have no I'm trying to ingenuity on that area, creativity. We aren't fast enough on pace. It's just terrible. So that's my worst, is just our final third play is awful at this point in time. My best, I'm going to kind of go off soccer, but with FCC. I want to give a shout out to a guy named Jeremy Lance, because he has started a nice little Twitter routine of saying FCC Bourbon Club, and I'm holding up a bourbon, because the best thing to have at this point in time in our FCC life is a little bit to drink to make these games a little more tolerable. So my best is the community that he has actually started to form on Twitter for FCC and game. So that's my best.
All right. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. A little bourbon and FC Cincinnati. Jeff, your best and worst?
This is getting more and more difficult every time we talk. And it's even difficult to kind of pin down a worst. So that's another side to it. But if I have to go, I know we're combining the loss to Philadelphia as well as the loss to Toronto. And Camo Makocho didn't. He came on as a late sub against Philadelphia. There really isn't much to hang your hat on there. But I'm going to go with him as my best, just because he's new, he's different. He brings another dimension to the club that, as it'll at least be something interesting to watch as these next few matches progress. But he played the second half against Toronto, and he was noticeable. I think he organizes well in the midfield, which Stam pointed out is something that they need, and looked pretty good. But at least he's something new and different. So I'll go with him as my best. Worst, Matteo Duplan. He just doesn't look crisp out there. His decisions with the ball, his passing numbers, I think against Philadelphia weren't horrible. I don't know what his
weren't horrible. That's where we're at.
Right. I don't know what his stats were last night, but just watching him, and the sad part about it is he went down in the match, and it was at the far end of the pitch, and I couldn't really tell who they were tending to. So I put my binoculars on him, and it's sad that obviously you never hope for injury for any player, but when I saw it was him, my first reaction was, well, that's not the worst thing if he has to sub out, and that's not good. So another thing to watch is to see if there's any improvement there, and what potential solutions Stum has there moving forward. So
yeah, chances are he's not going to be available for Wednesday's match against the Crew. So it is what it is as far as that standpoint. Mike, you wanted us to come back to you with your best. I'll let you lay it on us.
Yeah, my best is we are finally seeing the flippin' 4-3-3. The Dutch master is unrolling the carpet. There's an asterisk with that because the results aren't coming with said 4-3-3, but you finally started seeing a bit more aggression from the team. There's more numbers in the box, and the final product isn't there, as we all know. But look, if you're going to keep talking about this formation, this style of play, you might as well go for it. You're Jaap Stam. You're not the first coach of the club. Let's just keep it like that. You're Jaap Stam, and try things. It hasn't been working just to go with 5 in the back. I think the guys, they're exhausted. It's been a long season. It wears on you. So it's been refreshing to see them just go for it and say, look, we're just going to start prepping for next year, or we're just going to just start implementing our true identity.
Is that what you guys think is happening here? You think the switch to the 4-3-3 is more of a let's see what we've got for next year versus let's try to make it to the playoffs this season?
I think we're going to see more of that, or at least we should at this point. You've got a new manager who's looking to implement his system, whatever that might be. At least evaluate the personnel that you think is going to be back next year in that system. And make it productive, make these last few matches productive. Stam has said that this is not, he doesn't consider playoffs a likely goal.
No.
And at this point, I think everyone can agree with that. So make it productive. And I've kind of looked at this season as preseason for next year. I've said that a few times, but I think the hard part though, is that, and I was talking to some of the other writers last night about it, is that, this is going to bleed where they are now, that the preseason is going to bleed into next year. This is not, the solutions aren't going to all be found by the time this season ends. So,
well, they're not going to be found by the time next season starts either.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
definitely going to
of moves they're
bleed
gonna
into
have to
next
make.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're going to find out if this is just Stom trying to figure it out. And I do think that's what he is. But I think, do we see less of Harris? Because I don't think Harris is in the plan next year. Do we play Cruz back in the back where Harris was at maybe and see if he fits there, or try and move him on? I think there's a lot of questions that Stom needs to answer and use these last, 6-7 games to find out where this personnel kind of fits to move forward next year. And the ability for us to move forward is a debatable question. I brought that up on Twitter earlier today of like who can go and who can be moved. And you'll hear that later on probably from me. But I think this is finally saying we're done. Let's just see what we got. Run what you brung, as we would say in racing cars. Run what you brung. What do you have? Just put it out there. And I think Stom needs to do that at this point in time.
The injuries are going to impact that a little bit though, because this fixture load and what they've been through, you're seeing the impact of that. And that's going to limit how he's only going to have so many guys to send out there. So that's going to make it tough. Some of those decisions, but
I agree with that. And that actually brings up my one point, which I know I'm going to bring up Man Crush Monday for Michael of Joe Jow, so to speak, but why not try Jow at right back? DePlon's hurt. Well, I know it's.
Here come the Twitter. Here come the tweets.
I know. No, hey, I'm not saying it works out. I've never said it works out. I'm just saying try it. Bob Bradley put Latif Blessing back at right back because he doesn't have a right back, and that's where they get their width from. Joe Jow can definitely bring width to the team if that's how we're going to play. And put your best talent out there. That's all I'm saying is get your best talent out there. I don't think Barrial can play right back yet. I haven't seen him, but could Jow? I don't know. It's an exciting experiment, and if you're going to experiment, why not this year?
Yeah, now would be the time to do it.
And I like Michael's take on that. As a player, do you mind getting pushed back as if you're Joe Jow and being playing right back if it's going to maybe extend your career or solidify you potentially and finding a new spot?
Well, make no mistake about it. Joe Jow is the best player on this team this year. I stand by it. Joe, I hope you always watch the show, and I have the biggest man crush on you, Man Crush Monday, with how you play. But Joe Jow has been the most consistent performer. I don't think his spot's at stake, and I think the opposite. You talk about Latif Blessing for LAFC. LAFC's have really struggled with Blessing back there, and they beat a shorthanded Seattle team because of World Cup qualifiers in South America. And Blessing he's been exposed there. And I think Jow has played right back. It's right wing back in the 5-3-2. And now it's time to release the Kraken. Let the man go. Let him go. I know, comic book nerd. Let him go. Let him get forward. He's got speed. And you've seen Joe Jow out of position, and he answered the bell. Now it's a ruthless business. And trust me, it's a very ruthless business. And so now is the time where we might actually start seeing wins because guys' jobs are on the line. And under pressure, people tend to react or it's too much. And look, you never want anyone to lose a job, but this is a business at the end of the day, and you either deliver or on to the next one.
Yeah. One thing we have not touched upon tonight on the show is VAR and the penalty that was overturned last night in the Toronto FC match. So we will definitely be talking about that a little bit later on in the show. In the meantime, this is just a reminder that we can't do this show without the help and support of our tremendous supporters. So let's give it up to Tim Bronsel and Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more on how you could support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. All right, I'm really excited about this next segment. Ever since the West End Stadium was being built, I wanted to know about one part of this stadium, and that is the grass surface. So we're really excited to have Mark Heinlein and Chris Larbes, both from the Motz Group, joining us now on the phone. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us, Nick and team.
Hey, terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. We're here to talk about grass and the good grass, right, guys? I'm sure you never hear that joke.
Never. But I
How
have
is it?
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead.
No, I was just upset that I didn't get the memo in the bourbon tasting or the bourbon drink to bring along the way, but maybe next time.
Next time.
For sure. Definitely the next time. Well, let's talk a little bit about the West End Stadium and how the Motz Group is involved with FC Cincinnati, because there's multiple projects at play here, isn't there?
Yeah, there's there's a lot of good stuff going on down there, and as it relates to the field surface, it goes back a long time. When we're sitting here listening to you guys talk about just the recent interactions and experiences with the club, and we go back to when we were having conversations before really anybody knew what was going on, and looking at facilities and training areas, and it's really come a long way. So it's very exciting from that perspective. And it's, continued on with the Mercy Health Training Center and what's over there in Milford, and what they're playing on from a surface perspective and training on, and really has helped develop what will ultimately be at the stadium.
So let's talk a little bit about when did this process start with you and FC Cincinnati as far as the West End Stadium goes?
Yeah, so for those that are familiar with our organization, we've been doing sports field construction and maintenance for over 4 decades, and a lot of that took place well before I was on board here over the last 10 years. But the projects around town with Paul Brown Stadium and Great American Ballpark and many of the high schools around town, Nick, go Big Mo.
That's right.
And their campus and facilities. So classmates there. So, and a ton of high schools, municipalities around here. So, the name was very familiar, and having that expertise, not only here, but, Mark can certainly speak to this with his, we're not on video, but you'd be able to know he has a lot of experience in quotes. So he's a great team member with myself and all of us. And, it goes across about 5 continents of field building, over 500 fields. And, Jeff and Dan McNally back in the day, they could pretty much turn around the corner and have an international field building expert kind of right here in house to bounce ideas off of. And that's really where it started. As Dan always refers to the coffee shop meetings,
Mm-hmm.
they were there. Yeah. Right. So it was new. It was a lot of fun.
So this is Ken. I got actually a question. For the West End Stadium, what is the surface being installed? But even at that, how do the surfaces, and I say surfaces, how do you choose what grass to use from stadium to stadium as you go around the country?
And that will be my cue to turn it over to Mr. Heinlein, because he is our director of technical projects and research, and has been here almost every step of the way with Joe Motz, our founder. So with that, all you, Mark.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, good question. You know, I would say the first thing is what the climate will allow. So the grasses that we're growing in Cincinnati or Columbus or Green Bay or that, you know, the northern half of the country aren't the same ones that are growing down south. So we're in a kind of a special area of the country called the transition zone, where we can grow southern grasses sort of and grow northern grasses sort of, and then we get into this middle of the year where it becomes more difficult. So you know, the selection of the grass at West End Stadium really is a result of the work that we did at Mercy Health. Ryegrass, perennial ryegrass, is really the grass of choice across Europe, Western Europe, and that's what the vast majority of teams play on. So FC wanted to look at that grass. We had some familiarity with it. We had it at Great American Ballpark for many years, but it's a special way to do ryegrass. It's actually called a hybrid turf, and it's a combination of synthetic grass and natural grass. So it's something that we've done around the world very successfully, but hybrid grasses are not particularly popular yet in the U.S. But we brought that technology to FC. We put all of the grass fields, all the natural turf fields at Mercy Health are this product, hybrid product. Our brand is called Eclipse. But they've enjoyed it for 2 years, and they expect that to go into the stadium at West End.
Hey, Mark, Jeff Warner here. Mark and Chris, I should say. Thanks for joining the show. Question, Mark, about I don't know how much work, or I'd like to ask how much work you've done with soccer facilities at Motz, and also we hear players talk a lot about how the field plays, which obviously you have in soccer is such a unique sport where you've got that ball traveling across that surface, not just the players running and cutting and making various moves, but you have the ball traveling across that surface as well. And I was wondering how much you've learned during this process and how much you've learned on past projects with soccer facilities about what that surface means to the players and just kind of that technical aspect of kind of the unique aspects of soccer. How much have you learned in your experience about that?
Yes, it is unique. I would say besides field hockey, it's probably the only sport that truly concentrates on what that player ball surface interaction is, how those three things come together. You know, ryegrass, as we were just talking about, I think provides kind of the ideal situation. It's you can build a very firm field, which means the footing is very fast. Ryegrass is slippery, so that ball really moves very rapidly across that field. You don't see a lot of a slowdown when the ball rolls. You don't see a lot of snaking of the ball as it rolls across. So as I said, it's certainly the preferred turf choice. There's other grasses that work fine, but for this part of the country, ryegrass I think is really the ideal choice. It comes with some challenges, but I think that between grounds management that they have and the technology we bring on the synthetic element side, we can conquer all those challenges without any issues.
We can't hear you, Mike. You're muted. There you go.
Oh. Hey guys, this is Michael Lahudi.
Hey, that's at our office. That's $5 in the pot. So,
oh man, just another manic Monday, as they say. But a couple questions for you guys. You know, as you're constructing the field and constructing every element, every nook and cranny. The details matter. And are you guys getting feedback from any of the players, or looking to get feedback from the players as the field and everything gets solidified and as the stadium gets completed?
I would say the feedback that we're getting, or that we found most valuable, is the feedback on the finished product. The players don't really necessarily understand what's going on below that surface. And as long as that surface playing the way they want it to play, and they can play on it whenever they want to play on it, that's really their primary concern. So they're getting an extremely unique system at West End Stadium that's going to provide them with the perfect playing conditions, but they're not going to know that they can do things like turn on vacuum pumps that increase how quickly the water leaves the field, that they can turn on blowers below the field that will push air up through to create ideal growing conditions, or that Robbie can actually monitor in real time how much oxygen and how much nitrogen, how much those things that are going on in that root zone. They don't know any of that, but what they do know is at the end of the day, rain or shine, warm or cold, they've got a playing surface that's going to perform perfectly for them.
We're hanging out with Mark Heinlein and Chris Larbes. Mark is the Director of Technical Projects and Research, and Chris is the Director of Sales at the Motz Group. Right now, as I watch the construction cameras of the West End Stadium, I see what has largely become a pretty cleared out playing surface. There's a lot of dirt there now, but it looks as though this process, as far as getting the field installed, that's probably one of the next steps as far as the West End Stadium goes. So before you can get any grass down, what's the next step as far as what goes on top of that dirt that's currently there?
Yeah, so the general contractor, Turner, left us with the site that was 16 inches above what our ultimate field grade was to be. So we're in the process now of digging that 16 inches out and creating a subgrade that is perfectly flat, perfectly smooth. Then we'll start installation of the drainage system. One of the unique features of the system that's going in, it's called AirPat. It's an AirPat system, is that the entire field will be wrapped in a watertight barrier or a liner. So in essence, we create one giant 2.5 acre bathtub, and then we put growing medium in there. We put all kinds of sensors in there to measure what's going on. And then ultimately the stabilized turf, the Eclipse product, goes over the top. From a timing standpoint, all of that's going to occur with the target of getting that sod in by the second week in December. So lots of things are going to happen. As you're watching that camera, you'll see lots of changes in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Well, that's exciting. One of the things, and if this is not going to be part of the playing service, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but when I watch a lot of European soccer, like at Old Trafford, I will see some crazy light contraptions that are just wheeled over the field, and we've seen it at Lambeau Field. Is that something we're going to see here at the West End Stadium as well?
Go ahead, Chris.
No, that's all you, Mark. You're keep going. You're good.
So yeah, those crazy contraptions are actually grow lights that augment natural sunlight, and can be really effective, and in many regards almost essential in these stadiums as they get more and more cover, more and more shade issues. So as you guys know, the stands are completely covered with the canopy at West End. So it's beautiful for the fans, not so great for the grass. And there'll be areas of that stadium that will be severely challenged with shade, and bringing those lights in really allow the grounds manager some advantages to trying to keep that grass going. So yeah, you'll see those crazy contraptions being rolled out at West End.
Hey guys, a couple of last questions for you. This is Michael Hood again. Where does we're all excited about the stadium, and there's a lot of anticipation. You guys have done a lot of great work throughout, Motz or Motz, sorry, have applesauce in my mind. What throughout the projects that you've done, where does this project rank in terms of the excitement that you guys have, the anticipation? Where does this rank in terms of all the stuff you guys have done up to date?
Yeah, it's certainly the answer is that they're all important to us and they're all exciting, but this one is unique. As Mark had said, it's our flagship products as it relates to our hybrid turf technology with the clips and then the vacuum ventilation system with the air pad. So it will be the first surface of its kind in the U.S. At the MLS level, which is very exciting for us to be able to, to come in and be able to really have that experience from the players at the training facility and the positive feedback, and then incorporate that into the stadium. It's really neat to see that come to fruition. Looking back at the conversations that Mark, myself, and others at our office over there in Newtown on the east side of town had with Jeff and Dan early on, and many others, the vision was huge. So to see this thing coming out of the ground it's awesome for all of us from our team.
Awesome. Well, and last question for you, and I think everyone's excited to ask this one. When's it going to be ready?
For the first game. How about that?
Right.
Good answer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, as Mark kind of started to allude to it. It'll be ready for turnover to Robbie, the head of grounds there, his crew this winter, so that he can prep it and get it ready for the first match.
Awesome. Well, we are certainly looking forward to what should be a momentous occasion, not just for fans of FC Cincinnati, but you're a local business in Cincinnati as well, and you have your own fingerprints on what is becoming a crown jewel of Cincinnati's downtown. So that's got to be pretty exciting. The fact that you're local as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's how we got our start, and that's very much important to us today as we operate on a daily basis. So very excited.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us tonight here on the show. I'd be remiss, and Barrett Cohen from Moeller High School would really give me a big old smack on the jaw if I didn't mention that we've got two Moeller alums on this program here tonight. Chris Larbes, class of '99, along with myself. Chris and Mark, thank you so much for being on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Good luck. Make sure that field, the players, they're counting on you. So make sure that thing is pristine for next season.
Appreciate it, Nick, and everybody. Yeah, exciting. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it, guys. Good luck.
Thank you so much. That's Mark Heinlein and Chris Larbes of the Motz Group, who are responsible for installing the new surface there at the West End Stadium for the 2021 season. I said it before, I'll say it again. It's always fun when you get a chance to talk about grass here on Cincinnati Soccer, the good kind.
And I think Michael was confused.
Yeah,
thinking applesauce.
Jeez, I was thinking. I wanted to ask them, we getting free applesauce?
The funny thing is that Chris sent me an email today. He's like, I just want to let you know it's pronounced Motz and not Motz like the applesauce. So they must deal with that quite a bit. It's no different than people say our names wrong. So we appreciate them being on the show here tonight. All right. The topic I know we all want to discuss. Was it or was it not a penalty? Ken, for those of you who are new to the show, Ken loves VAR. It's his favorite thing in the whole world to talk about. But I can just see the steam just building up between those ears right now. Ken, I'm shocked that you and I disagreed yesterday about this call. So, was it a penalty or was it not a penalty?
In my eyes, it's a penalty. And everybody looked at the push. I mean, everybody looked at and I don't disagree with the upper body push logic. Like, I didn't think of that as a foul. I saw Omar clip his foot coming across, and that's what made him fall. And at that point in time, I sit there and go, it's a penalty. But what just totally baffles me about VAR, again, is supposed to be clear and obvious. That ain't clear and obvious to overturn. I mean, he made the call on the field, and it's always going to be my reason why I do not care for VAR, which is it's being utilized in a way in which it's not clear and obvious. The Asante USL goal that everybody's been talking about with the header where he used his hand, use VAR. I have no problem on it there. That's absolutely the situation. It's when you're using inches, like, you're putting a line across the field, and it's these minuscule things that drive me batty. It destroys the game, in my opinion. And I hate to get on a high horse and say I'm a soccer purist or whatever. I do think there's a thing with a beauty with an interpretation by a referee. Some refs let things be a little more physical, some don't. And he thought maybe that was too physical. Maybe it wasn't the push that was the foul, but maybe it was. I just don't like the VAR overturn. And in my eyes, yes, it was a foul. You can tell me otherwise, but that's just my opinion.
Ken says foul. Jeff, you were there. Was it a foul?
I was inclined. I did not see the foot. I'll need to watch this. I'll need to watch this again. I've been interpreting it based off the push and how I thought the player went down. I know, and we hear this a lot, but he went down a little too easy. It's in the box. We know how that's dealt with typically. However, I'm not a big fan of replay in sports, and I'm not going to go on a big tangent on this. I'm not. I'm seeing sports get legislated down to the millimeter, and I think that completely crushes the spirit of competition. I'm not a fan of replay in sports under any circumstances, to be very honest. I think
even when they make the correct call, don't you want to see the refs get it right?
I think if you didn't have replay as a crutch, the refs would get it right far more often. And I also believe that if you play 4 quarters or you play 90 minutes or you play 9 innings, you've had ample opportunity to put yourself as a team in a position to win or lose a game. And
fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go off.
So
use a lot of our time on that, but I think I agree with what Ken's saying, where if I just watch it once, if I'm the official, I probably wouldn't have awarded a penalty. But the fact that he did, and he was the one who saw it, and he was the one who was just a few feet away, and he made his judgment. And then all things considered, why did VAR overturn that judgment in that instance? I'll have to look at it again because I did not notice the
well, VAR, the way it works here, VAR isn't the one who overturned it. The ref who made the call is the one who overturns his own call. So that's a little bit of a difference there. I will say this. I was watching the game last night, and when I saw the replay initially, I wasn't listening with any audio, so all I had was just replay. When I saw the from behind the end line shot of Omar and Alan Cruz, my first reaction was they're going to overturn this. Because that's what I saw. I thought Allen went down too easily. I thought he was looking for it. And by the way, it almost worked. So for me, I personally didn't think it was a penalty. Yes, I did see the legs. I also think he made the most of it, which he should have. So for me, I don't think it's a penalty. Michael, you also said today on Extra Time Radio that you didn't think it was a penalty.
Yeah, it pained me to do so because I was screaming expletives at the screen, wanting it to be a penalty. But where the ball was, yes, Alan Cruz had a slight step on Omar, but it'd be different. My opinion would be different, really, if I hadn't seen the England Nations League game where Jordan Henderson kind of did something similar where he got a half step in front of someone, and as soon as he felt the touch, he went down. And that's part of the dark arts of soccer.
Sure.
that
He
you
did
go
what he's
down
supposed to do.
when you feel contact. And I was kind of holding my breath initially saying, oh, wow, they're going to get a point against the league leaders. And then,
Well, they still didn't make the penalty.
yeah. well, but then when I saw the replays again and again, you talk about clear and obvious. I didn't get to see the entanglement of the feet, but when I saw what I thought was the penalty call, the arm bar to the back, if they called that every time, there'd be 19 penalties per game. And in the last minute of a game like that in particular, where you have the best team in the league so far, and FC Cincinnati, I don't think that ref wanted to be the guy, the bad guy who all the writers are writing about. I do think that there is probably, I don't think from the league standpoint, but I do think that referee just didn't want the headache of it. And so he was like, well, let me just make the safe call. And ultimately, I think it was the right call. I still stand by it.
I'm wondering, Ken, if he doesn't make the call, right? If he doesn't blow his whistle and give the penalty, I'm wondering if VAR looks at it and reviews it and gives the penalty. Like I could also see them doing that. I don't know.
I don't. I think he went to the sideline and Don Garber got on the horn with him and said, we need Toronto in the final, so overturn that call. So honestly, I don't believe in anything that VAR is a participant in. So definitely Donnie is on the hook somewhere. But yeah, I'm not going to get into it. It wasn't a big enough difference. I think I put it even on my little tweet where I have the thing I said, FCC wasn't good enough, period, in general. And to get the tie like that, I still would have felt half-hearted. It would have been like, yay, we got a point, but we're not good enough. And I'm going to stop right there before I.
I like the irony of a former, and I'm not digging on your club, Subs, but a former Manchester United man saying, if we're one of the big clubs in the league, we get that call.
That's a good point.
But,
if that is the Columbus Crew, that's probably a penalty, right? I mean, that's unfortunately how it goes.
And Mike, to your point, if that was Mo Salah, he would have not only gone down, he would have been writhing in pain. He'd probably still be there. He'd still be laying there on the turf.
You're prepping for this weekend, aren't you? You're revved up. Internationals are almost out of the way. Hey. You're getting ready. You have your mind on one thing only. No, Ken, you nailed something, or you named something there for me, is the not being good enough. It's a Band-Aid over the problem that's been exposed. The quality hasn't been good enough throughout this season, and that doesn't take away from the MLS's back tournament. And like I said on Extra Time, I think one of the worst things that happened was that there was a delay in getting back to playing, and this team was just starting to figure something out that worked for them. Was it the formula for ultimate success? Probably not. But there was a camaraderie, there was a fight, there was an understanding. And hey, we may not be as star-studded as some of these other rosters, but we're going to roll up our sleeves and work hard. And I think the arrival of being at Nippert and the raised expectations of, hey, when we get to Nippert, we now start pushing attacking soccer. It just became too much. It looks too much for this group on the attacking sense. And it was the ghost of FC Cincinnati past, since the club has been in the MLS, of giving up soft goals, defensive calamities. We have a striker who should probably see a psychologist. I'll say it. It happens. Remember, was it Major League when the guy couldn't throw the pitch back? I feel like that's what's happened to our attack. It's like,
yeah.
So,
yep. Well, FC Cincinnati trying to fix that, right? They made an announcement today that they have acquired forward Franco Kovacevic on loan from Hoffenheim through June 30th of 2021. And FC Cincinnati will have the option to exercise an extension of the loan through the 2021 MLS season. So already we're kind of seeing, I don't know if we can call it benefits of that relationship with Hoffenheim, because we don't know what kind of player we're getting. We're assuming here that, the fact that he was playing in Germany, that he has some ability to play soccer and put the ball in the back of the net. So we're seeing them address this, of course. It will occupy an international roster spot, Ken. And right now, we don't have a slot open, do we?
No, we have a slot open
Oh, we
for him.
do. Okay.
We do have a slot. We have 9 slots this year. It's next year where we won't have 9 slots, but hopefully Michael Vanderwerf gets a green card and we drop down to 8, and we should.
I thought we
fine.
had 9 currently filled at the moment.
No, with him, he is the 9th. He is the 9th.
Okay. All right.
So
that's why I come to you with the roster. You're the guy. You know it all. You've got the spreadsheets, the data points. You're the stat man.
Haven't been keeping up enough. Maybe I need to do a little bit better of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's got to come into the country. He's going to have to get the permit to work here. He's going to have to be able to quarantine for COVID. So don't expect to see Franco Kovacevic playing really anytime soon, is my guess. Probably at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
I'm guessing. So this is a move, obviously, in preparation for the 2021 season. So
I think Nykamp might have alluded to that this was, I think he said that this was a piece for 2021.
Yeah.
But he's 21 years old, right? 21?
I believe so.
21. Yeah.
You know, we didn't get a chance to really talk about, not to change the subject, but it's kind of on the theme of them kind of stockpiling some young talent now. And Balreal, we didn't get a chance to really talk about him. And
we've
how he
finally
looked
got
against,
a chance. To finally see him get a run out.
Yeah. I mean, he had a rough start last night. He gave the ball away a couple of times, really, really carelessly. But I thought overall he looked great. And in the spell he had against Philadelphia, I thought he looked really good. So definitely the quality is there. But like you said, we don't know much about this guy from Hoffenheim. But that's pretty quick, though. They said that eventually a kind of a player share would develop. That part of the relationship would develop over time, but it's only been a few weeks and there's already a player headed this way. So I don't know what that means for the
who's heading the other way to Hoffenheim.
Well, right. Right.
Well, Professor, we all know a good poker player never shows his hand, and Nykamp kind of sits there with the cards sometimes and dishes out the cards and plays the Koi card. And this had a friends with benefits relationship written all over it from the start. Whenever you see jerseys being hung up and we're just doing this as an ambassador, bull poo poo. It's always for players. So, and good on Gerard for saying, hey, there's a need. We're gonna activate this opportunity to get a player to show that we're serious about 2021. And you will start seeing more and more pieces. And I think this validates the fact that from a managerial and maybe from a coaching standpoint, the mindset is shifted towards 2021. You're starting to get Barreal minutes, get his fitness, get acclimation to the league. Kamahelu, get acclimated. You're going to start seeing, I think what Yop and Gerard want to see is, hey, how are these pieces going to fit in to get their feet wet and get them a taste of something? So by 2021, it's not, oh man, now let's get you into the MLS mode. It's, oh wow, you're used to the winter. There's a language barrier. There's a style that you're used to from different countries or the league you came from, and you don't have that barrier or that limitation anymore. And I think you'll see that in these last couple of games.
Right. That's a good point too, with the language, the culture, adapting to the new league. You're getting that all out of the way now. Typically you get these players and it's like, well, it's going to be a while. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
And that's probably what is the issue for this season, right? Is that what we're going to chalk it up to? All the new faces coming in from across the seas.
Let's just chalk it all up. Let's chalk it. Because I'm done chalking, if you know what I mean.
The nice thing about chalk is it has an eraser, so if you chalk something up.
I'll tell you what makes me nervous about this signing, actually, and I'm just going to say it right now. Barreal was like a 1.7 million transfer price, kind of like rough estimate. This guy has a $200,000 kind of transfer market. how accurate transfer market is, I know it's not very accurate, and players probably look at it and laugh at it at some level, but it gives at least a baseline. That's a good baseline. Us spending an international spot on bringing this 21-year-old, he better be something of a steal to pay off, because I'm tired of us buying garbage players, and I say garbage players who just aren't performing and not hitting the mark. You can't miss. This is a big risk in my opinion, on an international spot for Gerard to take that risk for next year. It can't be understated that way.
So that's you're just talking about in specifically about the international roster spot, right? Because
the international
transfer
spot,
there's no transfer deal because it's a loan, so they're not paying a transfer fee. But you're right; it's the fact that they are these international roster spots are very important.
It's the measure of quality. That's my Barrial, like I said, had a 1.5 million transfer estimate. This guy has a $200,000. That's why I'm questioning it. I'm only questioning it because I don't know the guy. So honestly, is he worth that international spot to bring in? If he's not going to contribute and he's just this sort of guy, it's a bad move. I'm nervous about it. I'm nervous about the whole season at this point in time. So just to be clear. So
yeah, I'd be curious to know what the conversations were like, because was it more Hoffenheim says, okay, we've entered into this relationship with you. We have a player that needs some, that we don't have any place for, and can you take this guy on? But I wouldn't think that FCC would do that at the risk of an international spot.
He wasn't even at the big club though. He was at Hoffenheim too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that kind of makes me wonder. Well,
I saw Michael's face kind of go, oh.
Yeah, it brings up from my time in Philadelphia, what started off there was we got a player on loan, but he was with the first team. He had just left Hoffenheim too, and he was a German youth international, and he was legit, but he had been pushed out the door by Hoffenheim to say, hey, get your mind right, go play games in America. We don't want you going to another German club and coming back and biting us in the butt. And he came and he ate too many hoagies and loved that more than playing soccer.
Keep him away from Skyline.
But the one thing that did help him was it didn't help us with Philadelphia. It helped Hoffenheim because he just needed time away to just get his head right and get games and be in a different environment. He came back and he was with the first team as their starting number 10. If I was Gerard, I'd be with loan deals like this. There has to be a benefit for FC Cincinnati, and we will see because we don't know much about this player. And I hope that he's a diamond in the rough. That Hoffenheim, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And as I say this, though, how many more pieces do we get abroad? How many more international spots do we give players away from when there are so many domestic players available? Watch the USL. Dude, we should start the GoFundMe page to bring Corbin Bone back. Like,
I don't know. He kissed the Louisville badge. I don't see that happening.
I take that back. Don't bring Corbin Bone back because that's a no-no. But there's talented players of that level that could play in the MLS and that help you just flesh out your roster. And the recipe for success is not just to dip the international market, because the structure in place for MLS it's not for that. And I think you're playing with fire because and Ken, you'll be able to validate this or say no to it. But where I see MLS going is it's almost this weeding out system of your day-to-day college graduate or college player that is now in the MLS. It's academy-based players. There's a heavy focus on academy, and there's this international influx. Well, the academy is just getting going, so you're still waiting for those players. That takes time. That could be a year. That could be 2 years.
It could be more than that.
As fans, we don't have patience for that because of how things have started. So
well, how long did it take Philly, Mike? Right?
Oh, I mean, man, dude,
they were not good for
6 years. It took 6 years. And do you know what made it take 6 years? because questionable coaching, and it was managerial stuff, and it was this chaotic thing. And there was that same thing of, we have young domestic talent, but we're not sure if we want to play them through our academy. And it was, let's keep getting foreign players. Let's keep getting foreign players. And we overpaid foreign players. And it took, gosh, a guy from Germany to come in to say, whoa. My philosophy is you play domestic players and you bring foreign players, but it's the domestic core. And Philly is just slingshot because you have guys that it means more. You have Brendan Aronson, who's been a revelation for that club in that city. He's a fighter. He's a baller, but he's a fighter. McKenzie, Philly through and through. You have guys that it's not just kiss a badge and move to the next team. It's, this means more. It is, I will put my body on the line for a plate of Skyline chili. It means more. Which I really want some Skyline chili.
Tell me about it, Michael. Tell me about it.
And those guys, when they sell, that's the big thing, is when Philly sells those guys on. I mean, I know everybody in the EPL world knows that they get money. You know, the English teams do. The U.S. teams get GAM. They get, like, you know, they get a component of money that is very valuable, and you can't underestimate that. It allows them to buy even better, you know, for those 9-8 spots for the foreign players, to buy better players. Or, as Michael says, and I 100% agree, Gerard's biggest weakness right now, American players. Finding domestics. He needs to find four domestics that can fit on this team and start and contribute. And to say find is probably the wrong word to say. I'm just saying it's a discredit. There's plenty of American talent out there to play this game. And you have to find, they don't have to be the all-star. That's what he's looking for. And I can't stand it. You need to find the guys that can contribute on a day-to-day basis. And yes, American players are going to be less expensive than foreign players in general, just because of the perception, but you can get a better return on your money. And he is missing massively on that at this point in time. And it ticks me off, to be honest. It just does. I can't stand the direction we're going in that regard. I'm a Gerard apologist, and I think he's taken a step in the right direction, but I think it's not working in the players he's acquiring. I'm sorry. I'm just
no. This is we. So we'll bring you. We're going to pull the curtain back a little bit, right? Ken has been hammering this for months amongst us here at CST, and I finally got to a point. I was like, Ken, come on the show and talk about it, man. Let the people hear it.
Well, I mean, I'm just frustrated because, and nobody, you know, Jeff, you said this is still preseason to you. I'm sort of offended by that, not in the aspect of, I understand that mentality, but it isn't preseason to Nashville. It isn't preseason to Miami. They've had less time to set up, and we are crappier than them. Let's just call a spade at this point in time. We don't look like we have the direction that they have at this point in time. Nashville has a defense set up. I'm not saying they're pretty offensively, but they've got a foundation. We've got like a corner built over here and a bathtub put in with no walls around it. We look like a bad built house. We're a shanty at this point in time. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I'm just saying it frustrates me because I know you guys are all media. I'm supposed to be media. I become a fan, and I am just so frustrated after 3 years of, Michael, the last half of the year that you were here, we all kind of could see through the curtain, of what was going on. And we struggled at a massive level within. And that with these last 2 years is just, it's grating on me. And it's typical Cincy sports. We can laugh about that, but we are a great sports town as far as fans go. We put up with more garbage than anybody else. Jeff Birding, I got to call out to you. Gerard Nijkamp, I got to call out to you. I want 3 DPs that are $2 million or more on the pitch next year. Not a Kubo who's an $800,000 player. Not a Cruz who's an $800,000 player. Yes, they meet DP standards, or, qualifications. They are not DP players. We need to be validated as fans, and we deserve it. We've gotten you here. I want Meg, Carl, Jeff, everybody to put their money on the table and produce a product next year. I'm done. I mean, I'm saying I'm done. I'm going to be there forever and ever, but I am frustrated. That's my rant. Sorry, guys.
Yes. Bravo. It's been needed to be said. You brought up so many great points there, Ken, and I want to kind of piggyback off of what Michael even said today on Extra Time Radio. You brought up Atlanta. You brought up Nashville. Atlanta anchored by 3 solid American players. They weren't all-stars, but they were solid, right? Brad Guzan, solid in goal. Not a great U.S. men's national team goalkeeper, but a solid goalkeeper, right? Michael Parkhurst, dependable, solid center back. Jeff Lorenowitz, nothing flashy, but an American player that was solid, knew the league. What does Nashville have? We laughed at what they gave up to get Walker Zimmerman. American center back with ability to play. That's what we're missing. It's exactly what this team is missing right now. We do not have a solid core of American players that the foreign guys can come in and lean on for advice, for guidance. I mean, you can't stress this enough how much we talk about DPs and form. That doesn't mean anything if you don't have a solid American core. And we just do not have that right now.
Yeah. Thank you for Ken, dude, you're my hero. Thank you for saying that. There's a reality check. There just needs to be honest conversations. And one of the things you said that it captures why this team has meant so much to me, even post-career. It's because of the fans. What you just said is we don't deserve these type of results is because of FC Cincinnati fans that this team is in the MLS. Don't get it twisted, dude. What we did in 2018, awesome. What this club was able to do in the year before, awesome. But do not, those of you listening, power to the people. You guys are the reason this club is where it is. 30,000 plus, people pay attention. If you make an Open Cup run and you have 10,000 people, go to sleep, dude. You're staying in the USL. And so there now needs to be accountability. And I don't even know the first thing what that looks like because I'm not a club president or anything. But there's an expectation that's been placed on the club because of success in the past, because this is not just any other city. This is Cincinnati. It's a sports town. And there have been championships and stuff won in the past. There's this crying out of, hey, let's get our respect. Let's get the glory that this city once knew in the sporting realm. There's a thirst for that. There's a desire for that. And the reason why FC Cincinnati, why fans are pissed is because through this club, there is a redemption of the city. There was a taste of success. And sorry, you can't just win the trophy and now say, why is everyone being so uptight? And why is everyone Nah, dude, go work at Subway, eat fresh. They make good subs, by the way. But this is professional sports, man. Like the fans are the most powerful commodity. That's why it makes it professional. So that's my backup rant to support your rant by just saying, hey, dude, I applaud you for that, dude. Thank you for being honest. There needs to be more honest conversations.
There's, and again, I'm not even to the point now where I'm like saying FC Cincinnati needs to be a title contender. I just want to be competitive. I just want them to.
Yep. I
shouldn't be excited when I see a shot on goal. Like that should be repetitive. Like, you know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, we had a shot. We made the keeper make a save. That's a first. Like that shouldn't be the baseline here. And that's becoming the baseline, right? Like we should just be competitive, right? I mean, even in the 1-0 game against Toronto, and at no point did I think, oh, they're going to get a point. I didn't think that. And I shouldn't be feeling that way.
Yeah. I'm going to say something to Michael that Michael may not, you haven't been in Cincinnati, maybe, all they have to do. And I just sit there and think about this. If Carl, Mag, and Jeff win one MLS championship, they will have a statue sort of built in eternity in everybody's head. The 1990 World Series team, and I hate to talk, everybody can talk about it, and those guys are just everybody just
They're
worships
heroes.
them. They're heroes. And if you want to be a hero, which is what everybody in the FCC's organization sits there, and I'm not saying they've ever said hero, but they want to bring a championship. They want to be left, who doesn't want their bust left up for eternity at somewhere? This is their moment. And I'm telling they need to show it. And it's time to flip and put the money out on a table and say, we're going for it. We're going to produce a winning product. As Sub says, I don't care. And I don't care. I'm not looking next year to be playoff bound, in the playoffs. I want to be playoff contenders and then build on it. We just have nothing right now. I feel like that's just says we're going that direction at this moment. I'm struggling.
Yes, Sub's brought up we keep saying, the expectation is to be competitive, and that was the hope all of last year, and now we're back to having the same hope. Now, at times this year, the club has been competitive. Sure. We talk about the bare minimum expectation, and that's where we're at right now. That's kind of the bare minimum expectation, that you be competitive in the league that you're in. Coming out of last year, that was the expectation. And I think to some degree, Jaap Stam has achieved that. But I think now it's starting to get a little frightening, because now the end of this season is fastly approaching, and we have a new stadium coming next year. And now we're starting to look ahead, and you kind of see the reality of it. And I do keep talking about it being preseason for next year. Well, at this point, that preseason is going to bleed into next year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're counting on, there's going to be obviously there's going to be this kind of influx of energy next year. One, there will be a new stadium. Two, we hope there will be fans.
Hopefully,
100% capacity allowed in the stadium. So you're going to have that big influx of fan energy. And I think people will kind of put up with a little for a while, because it's going to be new, exciting, fresh. You're going to smell the fresh paint, and you're going to be, drinking a few pints and looking around and thinking this is the greatest thing ever. And you're not going to notice you're down 2-0 for a little while. But yeah, it's kind of in that danger zone right now for this organization. I mean, everything for all those years, Michael, you know this, we all do. Everything was all the eggs were in one basket. Get in MLS. There wasn't really a plan after that. Mm-hmm. It was just get in MLS. And they were willing to do whatever it took to get in MLS. And they did, and they sold their souls because they wanted to get in that first year. So you've got 277 days.
Uh-oh. You said the number.
That's a $5 fine.
We're going to hear about that 277 number.
And you didn't do well. And then you didn't do, I know I'm retracing history here, but then you didn't make the first move that you should have made, which is to hire a GM before you do anything else.
Yeah.
And bring in a whole team of soccer minds, and start building this franchise. And you set yourself back. And in professional sports, if you do things wrong for a year, you've set yourself back 5 years in the major sports.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's getting close to being kind of that danger zone, but
Jeff, I'm with you. I'm seeing more, I don't want to call it negativity, but I'm seeing more criticism on social media from fans that I almost never see right? In years 1 through 3, like
Yeah.
you couldn't see a negative thing being said publicly on social media about the club. And
Well, it's
now I'm
hard
seeing it
too
more.
because you're not going to the matches, so you don't even have that. All you
Right.
can do is sit and watch on TV and just get angry because you're not
True.
there with your friends at ladder 19 and you're not marching to the stadium and you're not in the Bailey having a great time. And you're like, who cares what the score is? We're having a great time. Look, the place is packed. It's a sea of orange and blue, and we'll just move on to the next match. So people, all they have to focus on now is losing. And frankly, everyone's kind of in a bad mood right now anyway, which makes sense.
I'm going to throw a stat out there that I mentioned on the live watch along last night. FC Cincinnati this season has scored 1 first half goal. That's it. One first half goal. And that was against the New York Red Bulls in the bubble. That's it. Yuya Kubo, the only first half goal that this team has scored all season long. How many games have we played? Yeah, that tells you what you need to know. So, look, we've kind of gone on a little bit of a rant here. Clearly, we here are frustrated. We see it, that fans are frustrated, and we certainly understand. If you feel like you need to vent, or if you have any feedback, please be sure to hit us up. Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com.
Call Ken.
And call. Yeah. We'll
It's quite
Quick
obvious
Ken.
that I'm the one. I need to help.
As we begin to wrap things up here, I just want to remind you can rate and review the show on iTunes. Head on over to Cincinnati. I call it iTunes, but it's really Apple Podcasts now. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcasts is where you can find the show. So do us a favor and leave a rating and review. And make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk, whether it's the Monday night show, our March to Match Day podcast, or you can also get subscribed to Talking Tactics with Coach Goff. You think we've got it tough talking about this every week? Coach has to break it down. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing a great job. So make sure you get subscribed so you don't miss a single episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Normally I ask you guys for your final thoughts, but I think we're ready to hit the road, aren't we, Jen?
I was just sitting here thinking, oh no,
Now
he's
what?
going to ask about the final thought, and I have nothing.
I think it's a great way to wrap things up. My thanks to Mark Heinlein and Chris Larbes from the Motz Group for joining us this week here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Really enjoyed hearing the process on what is involved with getting the new field put into the West End Stadium here in just a few weeks. So for Ken Hetker, Jeff Wallner, and the professional Michael Lahoud, I'm Subes, reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week.